Hey guys, what is up? This is DJ Kade, back once again like a Renegade Master, and I just got back from my Rainbow Cup tournament, and I've been wanting to tell you guys a lot of things, some news about my channel, and some other things I have going on, but it's been so long since I've had any battles on this channel, I really don't want to leave you guys waiting for any more PvP content. Let's get right into it. I'm going to get right into my team, and then we'll get right into my tournament coverage for my weighted Rainbow Cup. So the first thing I want to do is go over my team real quick, and as you can see, I've got a lot of common sort of meta picks here for my team. I've got my Charizard, Venusaur, Fortress, Quagsire, and then as far as my two picks, you'll see I've got Lantern there, and then I've got the Celebi, and you're probably wondering, why did you pick the Celebi? Why did you pick that? Well, I was actually trying to design this to be a little bit more of a budget team. Like, I really had to kind of manage my Stardust resources and really go on some really hard egg hatching grinds a few times this week, just so I could be able to compete in the cup and have some second charge moves on all of my various Pokemon. And as I took a look over everything in my bag, I noticed that I had a Celebi that fit right into that CP range, and it was something that not a lot of people talked about in their YouTube videos or in their strategy videos or anything like that. I figured it's another Confusion user, it's a Psychic Grass type, it's going to have a lot of the same advantages that a Confusion Executor would have. And when I ran it through the Sims, I was running it with various combinations of charge moves. I was always running it with Confusion, but when I was looking at the various charge moves with Celebi, I noticed that it actually did pretty well with just Dazzling Gleam. There actually weren't too many more situations where it would actually benefit Celebi to pay, you know, the extra 100,000 Stardust to get the second move. It earned me like one extra tie in one situation, so it took away one loss and added a tie, but I didn't really think that was enough to really affect its place in the meta, so I just decided for this case I could run it just without the second charge move, and that's what made it a cheap option. Otherwise, I really tried to get as many second charge moves on all my guys as I possibly could. The only other one that I ran without a second charge move was my Lantern. I decided that, you know, Hydro Pump takes a long time to charge up. Most of the meta is not going to resist Thunderbolt. You don't really want to be sending Lantern in against a Quagsire anyways, so I figured in that case, since it is his fastest charging move, does some really good damage, I figured I would just rock with Water Gun and Thunderbolt on my Lantern. So I'm going to do a quick overview of my team real quick, and then we'll get into the battles. So first up, I've got Hot Take with Air Slash, Blast Burn, and Dragon Claw. Toad Mode with Razor Leaf, Frenzy Plant, and Sludge Bomb. Snooty with Bug Bite, Rock Tomb, and Earthquake. Swagsire with Mud Shot, Acid Spray, and Stone Edge. Glimmer with Water Gun, Thunderbolt, and Doc Nasty with Confusion and Dazzling Gleam. Alright, so for my first opponent, I am up against Genjamin, and this is my girlfriend. Interesting story, she was with me at the last Kingdom Cup that I went to, and she thought it was really fun, and she really wanted to get involved. So for the past month that I've been working on my own team, I've also been working to help her out with her own team. I've actually sat down with her collection and went through it with a fine-tooth comb and really looked through everything that she had that she could possibly use for this tournament. And I looked at like all the different stuff, and I figured that this would be a very good team to run. I actually ran this team by a few people on Discord just to kind of get some professional feedback, so to speak, and it seemed like a lot of people on Discord really dug it. So we just ended up building her team that way. She just had been playing a long time, hadn't spent Stardust on anything, so she just had a lot of resources, and she's like, you know what, I'm not using them, like, let's compete. And so right away, you know, I'm up the very first match against my girlfriend, and I had just spent like the last 2 days doing practice battles against her team with my team, so she knew exactly what I had, and I knew exactly what she had. So we had some really, really interesting battles. Now, I mean, she would admit that she's still fairly new to PvP and still picking up some of the more advanced strategies, but I really think that for somebody who hasn't done a whole ton of battles, that she really gave me a run for my money with this team. So let's see how I do against my girlfriend. So for the first match, I decided to go in with my Lantern first because I figured that's going to be a good counter to a lot of the Pokemon in her lineup, especially if she tries to sneak in that Poliwrath as a lead, or maybe sneak in the Charizard. And then for the backup, I choose to bring in Forretress to deal with her grass types, and then with some of her other Pokemon as well, and Quagsire also to deal with some of her other Pokemon, especially Raichu and maybe Charizard if she chooses to bring them in. So Lantern comes in and Poliwrath comes in. I called it. So I start going to work with the bubble, and as you're gonna see, Poliwrath is actually really quick. She ended up really liking it for this tournament, and ended up wishing that she would have done more with it. But I choose to switch out here. I take a little bit of a risk since this is the first game. I decide to see if I can't bank some energy and bring in the Quagsire instead. I go for the Acid Spray to bring down the defense, and I manage to get the defense debuff once again, and I can't quite get to that Stone Edge before the Poliwrath gets to the next Ice Punch, and this Poliwrath just puts in the work against a lot of these top Pokemon in the meta. So if I would have stayed in to get that Thunderbolt off, I could have done more damage, but I decide to let my Quagsire go down, not knowing if she's got the Charizard in the back. I bring in the Forretress thinking that it's only going to be a few bug bites and I'll be able to finish it off. I shielded thinking she was going to do the power-up punch. Excuse me, because I thought that had some good power at this point and she was going to use that, but I just used Rock Tomb on whatever comes in next, and it turns out to be her Quagsire. And I think I'm going to slow it down just a little bit because this is a little bit tough for me to keep up with here. I decided to shield the Earthquake so I could survive. I told her to put Earthquake on the Quagsire in case of a match like this, but I hit her with my own, and Raichu is her last Pokemon, and this is going to be tough. She's got no shields. All I have to do is survive this, and I don't survive this, so it's all up to my Lantern, and this match actually comes really, really close. I wonder if this is going to kill her, and it barely doesn't. We just barely pulled that off, actually. That was extremely close for a first match. I mean, I took a little bit of a risk, and it didn't exactly pay off for me. It ended up coming right down there. It could have been less close of a match, but she actually played that really well against me. And yeah, I'm going to have to slow the video down just a little bit so I can keep up with all the commentary I want to do here. Alright, I think I have it on an appropriate speed that I can deal with here, so I decide to be a little bit tricky for this next match. I'm feeling pretty confident. I've got a win under my belt. I'm going to try the Celebi, and I'm going to try it as a lead to see how this works. And I don't remember exactly how this goes, but I tried to completely alter my lineup this time. Just go with completely different Pokemon here. Actually, the Quagsire is the only repeat, I believe, from the last match. But let's see how we do in this one. So I send in Celebi, and this is not a good matchup. I decide to do a couple confusions, or one confusion, but it's just not worth it. I'm taking way too much damage from that. And Charizard, of course, gets to a charge move first. I decide to tank the Blast Burn, and it still really hurts. But I try to fire back with the Stone Edge to see if she's going to take it, and she doesn't, which she needed to do because otherwise that Charizard was not going to survive. But I'm just getting to these Stone Edges so much faster, and she decides to tank that one, but she just can't. She sends in the Raichu, which again, this was something that she noted was a mistake. Like, it was the kind of thing where she was recognizing her mistakes like in real time, and like I could see her learning, which was really, really awesome. She goes for the Brick Break, which is one of her fastest moves, so I'm going to get victim of the very last acid spray, and I think the debuff happens every single time now. I thought it was a random thing. I don't know what that's all about, but we've got the Raichu weak, and all it's going to take is one confusion at that point. Poliwrath comes in. That's her last Pokemon. That was a bad pick for her. That was... my heart kind of sank for her at that point, because that's just a tough one. The Dazzling Gleam comes out, and the confusion just eats through the Poliwrath, and I end up taking the first game. And if it wasn't for that bad pick at the very end, she would have done really, really well. Like, the games would have been close, or she would have won that one. Alright, so my next opponent is Chrono Square, and this guy is a serious competitor. He's actually somebody that I've been trying to network with and get some more battles eventually recorded with on this channel, but I've been too lazy. He's been pushing me to do more battles, and I've just been really busy. But we talk strategy all the time. We're always looking for PvP IVs. He's really, really big into PvP IVs, and he always places really highly in the tournaments that he participates in, and he is absolutely no slouch. So I was really, really scared to fight this guy. So, like, the first match I fight my girlfriend, and then the second match is the guy I've basically been discussing strategy with for the last month on this game. So, like, it's blowing my mind already, this tournament. Like, the first two matches were, like, the ones that I really didn't want to face right off the bat. But sometimes, you know, you gotta just jump right into the fire, whether you're ready or not. So he's got a pretty tough meta team, and that Azumarill is really going to be a tough nut to crack for anything besides, you know, my Lantern, really, and my Venusaur. So I'm gonna have to play it safe with this, and I end up having a pretty rough time with this battle. Let's check out my first match. So right away I'm thinking he's gonna try to bring in an Azumarill lead, or a water type lead, or maybe Charizard or something like that. So I'm thinking, for some reason, I'm feeling Lantern as my opener, and then I'm thinking of just bringing some of my more top meta picks. I didn't really want to try to take a risk and bring in Celebi against his team. I really didn't know how well he performed. Actually, I know that Celebi doesn't perform too well against Azumarill. There's some other kind of off-meta picks that Celebi really performs well against. And you've already seen me use it against Poliwrath, and, you know, it's good against some of the grass types, but against a lot of the stuff on his team, I just wasn't feeling like, you know, Celebi would work here, so I tried to play it safe for this first battle. Let's see how I do. Alright, so I come in with the Lantern, and he comes in with the Charizard. I was thinking the Charizard is one of his leads, and I call it, and I'm trying to see how long he will stay in. I don't think he'll stay in too long, but he ends up swapping to the Venusaur, so he's switch-locked. I have an opportunity to switch-lock into him, and I make a mistake here. I'm thinking that it's going to be the Frenzy Plant, and I end up taking it. I end up taking a Sludge Bomb, and that's something I really should have shielded. And now he got into my head. He mentioned something like, yes, go ahead, shield. And I was like, oh, did I do something wrong, you know? And so, like, so he had me a little psyched out, to be honest, because I was already a little nervous about going up against him anyways. He's just waiting out the switch timer. He decides to send in Azumarill here, and of course I'm gonna go down. I'm not gonna let him farm energy. That's just fine. I'm gonna wait out my own switch timer, and I send in the Venusaur because I do have the Razor Leaf, and I figure I'll be able to pick on that water weakness that he's got. I don't shield this, but this ends up really hurting. I wasn't expecting the Ice Beam. For some reason, I was thinking it was just going to be a play rough. I should have seen that coming too, and he even mentioned that if I would have shielded a couple times during this match. I was just trying to be conservative with my shields because he wasn't using any, and now he uses the Dragon Claw, which thankfully doesn't do much, but he's got two of them, and the Blast Burn is going to do enough to take me out. And even though I will pick him off with the Water Gun, I've just got nothing left. I'm not going to be able to get to Thunderbolt. Actually, I do get to Thunderbolt, but it doesn't matter. He's got the last shield, so the Lantern goes down. That was a tough one. I mean, I mean, yeah, I had to have shielded some of those attacks. Like, I thought it was going to be a Frenzy Plant. I didn't think he was going to get to the Sludge Bomb that fast. So, yeah. Anyways, into the next match. So for this one, I decide maybe I should bring in the Celebi. I don't want to bring it in as a lead. I want to bring it in as something where I can just, like, pick something off with confusions if it's low on health, and then maybe I'll be able to build up just enough to get to a Dazzling Gleam with the next Pokemon, and, you know, that's all I'm really expecting out of it. But I decide to throw in the Quagsire because I didn't include it in my last team, and I think I'm almost going with a completely different team from what I had last time. Yeah, I'm actually going with a completely different team. I wanted to throw them off, but will this strategy work? Well, you'll find out. Alright, so Quagsire comes in, Azumarill comes in, and this is a matchup I didn't really study enough to know how it goes. I mean, I figure with water I can be able to tank at least one Ice Beam. I didn't figure that would hurt me too bad, but I go for the Acid Spray because obviously this is a Fairy type, so he does shield, and the Ice Beam comes out and does about a third of my health. That's not too bad, but I figure I'll stay in and try to switch out to my Fortress, bank a little bit of energy, but now I'm switch locked. So that was a bad play. I just, like, I thought maybe he didn't have the Charizard, but I go for the Rock Tomb. He's going to have to shield it, so I do manage to get both of his shields right away, which I thought would put me in a good position. I've got 2 shields here, and I'm just waiting out the switch timer because I know I switched in way too early, so I send in the Quagsire. He's got a charge move for me right away. He's going to hit me with the Blast Burn, and I should have shielded. Like, I should have taken my own advice from the last tournament. And now it was a situation just like I encountered with my girlfriend in the last match where my last Pokemon just does not have enough to take out, like, I ain't gonna take out 3 Pokemon with 1 Celebi. No way. Even if I should have just waited, maybe done one more Confusion, and then tried to do Dazzling Gleam, but I was just like a flailing fish. I was like a flailing Magikarp. Even the 3 Magikarp Moon couldn't give me enough power to win this match. So, GG's. That was very well played. You are a great competitor. Alright, so for my third match, I'm up against Gospo 2013, and for the first time this tournament, I'm actually up against somebody who I'm not familiar with at all. Like, completely, you know, completely opposite of the first 2 matches. This guy is the first time I've ever met him, and he was a really, really cool guy. I had some really great conversations with him. We really talked a lot about different Pokemon and meta strategies and stuff like that. We ended up getting his friend code and stuff like that, so yeah, just an overall great competitor, and we played some absolutely fantastic matches here. This match gets incredibly close, and I can't wait to show this one to you guys. Just looking at his team, he's got some really interesting picks. He's got that Victory Bell in there instead of the Frenzy Plant Venusaur, and he's got a Kingdra. Now, this is one of the reasons why I brought my Celebi, because I did some simulations, and Celebi can just barely edge out Kingdra in certain situations. Like, if you can block a Blizzard, I mean, you can take the other charge moves fairly well. You don't really want to get hit by Hydro Pump, but if you can block one of those charge moves, you can actually do fairly well against Kingdra with Celebi. So I think I do use Celebi once in one of my matches here. But yeah, these just are some great matches. So here we go. Let's get right into them. So right now his team comp kind of has me shook. Like, I really don't know what to think about his team comp. So I'm deciding to play it a little bit safe, bringing in some tankier Pokemon, a couple of really hard counters to Charizard, and I'm hoping that I can pick apart the Fortress with kind of like a combined effort of Quagsire and Lantern if I absolutely have to. So we'll see how this team does. Alright, so I send in Quagsire first, and it's a Quagsire mirror match. Oh boy, so now I'm in a position where I don't know the opposing person's Quagsire. I knew what my girlfriend had on her Quagsire, and I had a hint of what Chrono Square was using, so I decided to use the Acid Spray. That probably means that he's got some slower charge moves, actually. So he uses the Stone Edge and really doesn't do too much damage. I mean, I think ground type resists rock. It's just one of those things I don't really remember too often, but he goes for the Acid Spray. He ends up having the same moveset that I do, and we're getting debuffs left and right here. We're just like kind of swinging back and forth, and I managed to get a shield. I believe I still have both of my shields here. And I decide not to block it. I don't know why I do that, because, like, well, I figure I can take out his Charizard with a Lantern if he still has the Charizard in the back. So here comes Charizard, and there we go. I can switch in with my Lantern because I pretty much have to. And that Water Gun just eats through like 2/3 of his health before he can switch out. And I managed to build up a Thunderbolt, and he doesn't shield it, and he goes down to about half health, but I underestimate how fast I'm going to get destroyed by Razor Leaf. So now I'm in a bad position. I've got 2 shields, but I'm just not going to do that much damage to Victory Bell, and I decide to block thinking it was going to be a Sludge Bomb, but it's a Leaf Tornado. I ate a shield with a Leaf Tornado. I didn't want to do that, but I hit him with the Sludge Bomb, and I've just got no stored energy left for the Charizard, and I decided to shield to just cling to my last little bit of life, thinking maybe the Razor Leaf is enough, and look how much health he was left with! Man, if I would have just... if I would have been at like half health, or like 1/3 of my health or something, maybe I would have survived long enough. That one was so close. He was really, really excited about that match. So going into the second match, we decided to change it up. I decided to bring in Forretress. I decided to bring in Charizard, more of a conventional team. I figured that this sort of team is going to be able to counter a lot of things on his team. I'm not really seeing Kingdra as too much of a problem at this point. So we will just see how this works and roll with it. Alright, so after a little bit of lag, we're finally into the game. I send out Forretress. He sends in Quagsire, and this is actually good because I know that he doesn't have Earthquake, so he's not going to be able to deliver the Death Blow to the Forretress like he would want to. He's going to be able to actually not really eat that Stone Edge really well. He still takes a pretty good chunk of damage from it, which I think that's from picking on his Bug-type weakness to Rock, and we do manage to get one shield there. I decide to shield again because now I know that Stone Edge is going to hurt, and I'd really like to hold on to Forretress a little bit longer. But I really probably should have just let him go down. He decides to use an Acid Spray, and I don't fall for it. He was hoping to get my last shield, and I switch in Venusaur, and I think I killed him with a really fast Razor Leaf. And Laser Leaf, that would be cool, right? And now he sends in Mantine against Venusaur, and this ain't too good. But thankfully, Razor Leaf is powerful enough to deal some damage. Like, looks like he can go toe-to-toe as far as fast moves, but we do get the last shield here. We don't have any shields, so we're pretty much going to die if this is Aerial Ace. Yep. And now we just wait out the switch timer a little bit, and we send the Forretress back in. And I was gonna do Rock Tomb. My finger slipped, but we do barely manage to kill him with just a little bit of health left. So the last Pokemon isn't gonna be able to farm Forretress, which is actually probably a good thing. And thankfully, Charizard is our last Pokemon. And am I gonna survive? Is it a Sludge Bomb? No, it's not a Sludge Bomb. It's a Leaf Blade. He had Leaf Blade and Leaf Tornado. Oh, man, if that would have been a Sludge Bomb, I don't know if he would have gotten there before I would have gotten a Blast Burn, but that made me sweat a little bit. And at this point, we're 1-1, and we're going into game point here. Alright, so for this last match, my team comp isn't really going to serve me too well, actually. I mean, I've got Lantern, I've got Quagsire, I've got some grass type weaknesses, but like I decided that running these two might be a really strong option. I mean, I wouldn't have to worry about Charizard. Fortress might be a little bit of a problem if my Celebi gets stuck with it, but I figured maybe Celebi would cover the grass types. I just figured maybe this team comp would be a little bit better, and I'm not really doing a good job of hiding it with my words, but we'll just see how this team comp does against them. Alright, so we jump right into battle, and we've got the Kingdra versus the Lantern. Okay, I'm liking this, but not really, because he's able to pick me apart with Dragon Breath. I just need to be able to get to that Thunderbolt. Unfortunately, I took way more damage than I thought I was going to getting to that Thunderbolt, but he decides to tank it. So that's a surprise. I mean, now it kind of puts us at even, but I decided to tank the Outrage, which probably was, again, I should have been shielding. I should have used those shields. And this is where I send in the Celebi, because I figured this is one of the reasons I wanted to bring Celebi in the first place. And I'm actually able to put a lot of damage onto this Charizard with just Confusion before I go down. So I use the Dazzling Gleam, and I get one shield, so that's pretty good. But now, I'm down to one Pokemon. My Quagsire, thankfully, and 2 shields, I decide I have to shield to keep my Quagsire as healthy as possible, but I'm just fighting an uphill battle. I mean, I just made the wrong choices early on. I didn't shield when I should have. Now he's just eating through my shields, and I'm surprised at how well Charizard can survive them mud shots and just survive Quagsire in general. Just in terms of fast move, Quagsire is not that hard of a counter to Charizard, and he brings in his own Quagsire, and with the mirror match here, he's basically going to pick me apart. He's going to use Acid Spray or Stone Edge to hit me here like he does. And I've got nothing. I can just hope to hit him back with Stone Edge. And yep, and it's not going to be too much longer, but my Quagsire does have pretty good PvP IVs, honestly, and that's probably the one thing that's helping it survive to begin with. So this is just, it just hurts to show this back to you. Like, it's hard for me to even make commentary at that point, but again, we played some good matches. I just made some poor choices in my lineup, and I just didn't shield when I should have. So, GG's to Gospo 2013. We played some great games. Alright, so my last opponent for this tournament is Mabukager. Again, I'm at a situation where I'm 1-2 for this tournament out of the 4 rounds that we played. And I'm looking at his team, and he's got a pretty threatening team. He's got 4 water types, all pretty different, I mean, I know that Poliwrath has some significant speed to it. Like, that was the one Pokemon on my girlfriend's team that really gave me the most problems. But at the same time, I've also got the Celebi, so I can counter that Poliwrath if I see it. And as far as the rest of his team, I'm also thinking Lantern might be a good pick here, since he's got a Lantern of his own, he's got that Mantine, he's got the Charizard. I'm thinking that would be good in many situations. So let's go into the first battle and check out my picks. Alright, so for this first match, I end up going with a Fortress lead. Now, I don't think, in looking back on it, that was really the best lead to go with, because he wasn't really strong against a lot of picks on his team. Like things like Poliwrath in the right situations, and Lantern can still do a lot of damage. But I was thinking that maybe he would bring in his Grass type, maybe he would bring in, he can still do fairly well against Quagsire depending on the moveset, and if you block the Earthquake. So I don't know what I was thinking. I was just trying to be tricky, and I was just trying to think about what he would bring in against my team. So I think in the moment I was just trying to like out-predict him or something, and then I just picked a solid B roster to back up Fortress for this match. Alright, the battle begins, the final battle, and it is Fortress versus Poliwrath. And I know I can do a little bit of damage, but he's going to get to those charge moves really quick. and I do think he has the Mudshot Poliwrath. There was actually somebody called it out at the tournament, which I was kind of surprised that there was like a public call out of like a legacy move Pokemon, which was a little a little weird. So I knew before match that I was going to be facing off against one, but man, he gets to those charge moves quick. But I have to switch out, and I figure I can bring in Venusaur, and before he can switch out, he goes down. Now, he was complaining that he was trying to switch out and that he probably would have had the game if he wouldn't have had the switch out lag. So it seemed like there was a lot of people at the tournament who were having, you know, similar sorts of problems. I go for the Sludge Bomb here, trying to get my head back into the game. He does shield it, and I decide not to shield it, but I end up taking the Sludge Bomb, thinking it was going to be the Frenzy Plant, and I end up surviving long enough to basically take one more Frenzy Plant, and I'm not going to block it because I know I'm not going to survive much after that. So I send in the Charizard, and I think he was trying to switch out faster there as well, but he couldn't quite get to it. But I do manage to get the Dragon Claw. After a little bit of lag, it does hit him, and he eats it with his shield. And I decide I'm going to shield this as well, so that now we're in a shieldless 2v2 and a mirror match as well. I do manage to get to my Dragon Claw first, because I was guessing that I had charge move priority, and I managed to take him out, and all he's got left is the Venusaur. And I don't know how the match would have gone, to be honest, if I would have been a little bit smarter with my shields, and if he would have gotten the switches as soon as he wanted to. It was just a tough loss for him, and just a well-played game still. I mean, it did come very close. So for the next match, I decide I'm just going to change it up a little bit. I figure Quagsire is going to be a lot safer choice to start with, and to save Forretress as a backup so I can take out his Venusaur if he does bring that in. I do know that he does like to use his Venusaur now, so I don't know if he will include that in his lineup, like in the back or in the front, but I've got it there just in case. And then I bring in Charizard. You know, maybe not the best choice in this case, because now I've got two Grass-type Slayers, but we'll see how this goes. Alright, so I come in with Quagsire, and he comes in with Lantern. This is a very good matchup for us, so I'm going to be able to do some Mud Slap damage right off the bat, and he does switch out into the Venusaur, but now he's switch locked, so I send in the Charizard, and I figure he doesn't have the Sludge Bomb yet, so I don't bother shielding, and that's a good call, so it's not going to do too much damage. And I'm saving up. I could hit him with the Dragon Claw, but I really don't want to. And again, I didn't think he was going to use the Sludge Bomb, so I just decided to tank it. And I didn't have to shield anything from Venusaur. I called both of those. Neither of them were a Sludge Bomb, so I'm feeling really good about my position right now. I just throw the Dragon Claw on whatever comes in next. And it's okay if Charizard goes down real quick right here. I don't want to be energy, but I had extra energy for the Dragon Claw. I was banking energy, and I really didn't even know it, and I managed to take off half of Lantern's health before Charizard goes out. Excuse me, I'm getting so hype. My throat's drying out. I'm gonna have to get a drink of water here. Maybe Lantern can give me a water gun here. But I send in Forretress, and I decided to shield that, especially if it's a Hydro Pump. I figure that's going to do a lot of damage, so I decided to shield it, and I'm just going to pick him apart with the Bug Bite, because I know he's not going to be too fast, and the Thunderbolt doesn't do a whole lot. And now I've got charge moves for whatever comes in, but he does have both shields, and I throw the Rock Tomb, and that's the best call. And he has to shield it if he wants to live, and I'm not going to live too much longer, but I still have my Quagsire in the back. Actually, I probably should have switched out here, although I don't know what that really would have accomplished, although he's got a lot of energy now, and I do have a stored Stone Edge. Thankfully, I did switch out with some saved energy, and that's exactly why I did that, so maybe overall in hindsight that was the best strat. I have a shield here I can save, The Dragon Claw comes in, and I manage to throw the Stone Edge. He's got nothing left. This is going to take him out. And, you know, maybe I didn't give myself enough credit. That was actually, I don't really know of where I made too many mistakes that time. And, man, he played me really tough, and he just had some tough breaks in that match. I was just on my game, but I have a feeling that the next time I play against this guy, he is going to be an absolute force, so I am not underestimating him in any way. In fact, why don't we go into the final rankings of the tournament here? So as you can see by the graph and the overall rankings, I once again went 2 for 2 in this tournament, just like I went in the Kingdom Cup. And the thing is that even though I did go 2 for 2 and I ranked 2nd place overall, I actually ranked the highest out of all of the people in 2nd place, because I was talking to some of the tournament officials, and they were basically saying that because the matches I played against were against some of the more difficult opponents, that affected the weight of my ranking more, which allowed me to place higher amongst all of these 2nd place people. So right there, that should, you know, basically tell everyone that I played against that all of you are serious competitors, and that some of you just got some tough breaks. Even my girlfriend did like really, really well, and I think that with just a little bit more practice and, you know, a little bit more understanding of the deeper mechanics, some of which, you know, I don't even know about, that she could honestly be really good. And, you know, if I would have shielded again, I should have listened to myself from the Kingdom Cup video. And what was weird is that if I would have won that, probably one of my games, if I would have gone 3-1 in something, that probably could have thrown off a lot of the stuff on this graph, because we ended up with a 6-way tie for 1st place. Like, I've never seen that before. I'm sure that's probably happened in some tournaments or whatever, but like a 6-way tie for 1st place between Chrono Square, Gilded Prophet, Rusty Trin 79, Deefy 250, Gospo 2013, and King of Pride Rock, all tying for 1st place. Man, like, just the way it all went, you can see that we were all really equal in skill, and like everybody had a lot of fun. Everybody is clearly improving in this community, and no one person is really giving anybody a serious run for their money or another. I mean, we're really developing our skills here, and the main man who's been winning a lot of our tournaments in the area, Jojo Kano Jojo, he unfortunately couldn't be at this tournament, and we made a joke amongst our community like, yep, this is what happens when he's not here. So yeah, what ended up happening actually is we had a sudden death playoff sort of thing, I think between the top 4 players, although don't quote me on that, I'm just throwing numbers out here, but we had like a sudden death style, like single elimination between the top players at the very end to determine who was the ultimate winner. And Chrono Square was the ultimate winner of this tournament. I mean, he was the guy I played in my 2nd round, and so, like I said, I mean, he's a tough opponent, and, you know, when JoJo isn't there to defeat the evil of Dio, you know, I mean, anybody can win, basically. So I guess that's the lesson to be learned from this tournament. Oh yeah, and use your shields. Alright, so one last thing I wanted to do before I wrapped up my tournament coverage was just kind of take a look at the overall picks that people were using for their teams. And as you can see, lots of Charizards, lots of Venusaurs, King of Pride Rock using a Venomoth and a Beedrill, and no Charizard and no Venusaur, and placing pretty highly in this tournament and being quite the contender just based on their rankings. So that was a really interesting team choice. I see 2 Laprases. My girlfriend was actually the only one that brought the Raichu, so that was really interesting. And then I was the only one who brought the Celebi. Probably in the history of Tournament Cup, probably in the entire history of Rainbow Cup existence, to be honest with you, because I haven't seen anybody else. And 2 Meganiums, but overall, Fortress on nearly every team. 2 Poliwraths. I ended up facing both Poliwraths in this tournament, and both of them were a problem. So was that the secret underrated wild card for this cup? I mean, did we all discover that a little bit too late? Who knows? But, you know, still, just, you can see how, you know, there's, even though it was a little bit more diverse meta, there was still a lot of, like, kind of like a ball meta, except, you know, amongst Charizard, Venusaur, Quagsire, and Forretress. And then from there, it was really like whatever you could think of for the last 2 picks. And, you know, even on like Gospo 2013's team, you know, he had that Victory Bell, which is basically another, you know, sort of Venusaur type Pokemon, and quite a few Mantines showing up, surprisingly, and lots of Azumarils on high-ranking teams. So Azumarill was really, really a high performer in this cup as well. Probably not really an underrated pick, but not really something that, you know, people are considering like a huge part of this meta, but like still definitely there, still definitely a force, and something that I had trouble dealing with the whole time. So, excellent teams, you guys. Like, the teams, even just aside from the strategy, just the teams overall are improving. So everything around here is getting tougher and tougher and tougher. So the battles on this channel should get a whole lot more interesting very soon. Alright guys, so that is it for my coverage of my weighted Rainbow Cup. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed everything about this video. If you did, please consider giving me a like and a comment, definitely. I like hearing from you, and I try to respond to everybody who posts a comment. And like I said, I have a whole lot more things planned for this channel. At this point, my girlfriend is getting a lot more into PvP, so we're going to be able to do a lot of sparring in PvP. That's going to be really, really awesome. I'm contacting more people from my local community as far as like getting into more battles with some of my local pros. I would like to interview some of the top players on my channel. And on top of that, I'm also finally like trying to, with balancing gifts and everything, I'm finally getting to the point where I'm finally able to battle some people that I've been sending friend requests to on Discord. I know some few people in particular have been itching to battle me. So, like I said, there's going to be a lot more battle content. I'm going to be ready for it. I'm going to have the ability to power up stuff. I'm looking ahead to the Jungle Cup, and, you know, I've got my Vigoroth, of course. You saw my last video, right? You did, please tell me you saw my last video, right? Please watch my last video. One last thing I just wanted to mention real quick is that just like for the Kingdom Cup and for the Nightmare Cup, which you guys didn't get to see unfortunately, I didn't actually compete in the Nightmare Cup, so I missed out on that one completely. I just couldn't save up the Stardust, I was too busy, but just like the previous 2 cups, I also made a pillow for the Rainbow Cup, and this one was won by Deefy250, who was the person who gave me the practice matches after my last Kingdom Cup, and is somebody who I'm going to feature in some battles on the channel pretty soon. And also, the Nightmare Cup was won by none other than Jojo Kano Jojo. He swept the tournament, and he won my pillow. I can't let him get away with that. Someday I'm going to battle him for it rightfully. I'm going to battle him, and then he's probably going to beat me and say, okay, I won it fair and square. So congratulations so far to Claire716, Jojo Kano Jojo, and Deefy250 for being the winners of all of the cup pillows that I've made so far. And yes, you can bet that there is going to be a Jungle Cup pillow as well. But did I win anything from this tournament? Well, I actually won this guy who's been sitting over with me the whole time. This excellent, awesome Growlithe plushie that's super, super cool. I love it so much. You know, especially since I just got that shiny Growlithe, and I've got kind of a dog collection, you know, going already, so he is going to be my best friend, He's going to hang out with some of the other plushies that I've got, including Wobbuffet and Stimpy and the Tasmanian Devil and Pyramid Head from Silent Hill 2. So if I haven't said it already, super huge thanks to the tournament coordinators for running things so smoothly. Like, I was actually late to the tournament. We almost left the house without the pillow, so we thankfully were in a spot where we could turn it around, and they held the tournament up for us, and they ran it really well. There was plenty of food to eat. There was drinks to be had. There was, everybody was having a great time, and it was just a great atmosphere once again. And of course I'm going to keep going back, and I'm going to be a lot more practiced. I mean, you can probably see that, I still haven't done too many Great League battles, but that is all going to change. So again, let me know you've got my support in this. If you like the format, if you have any questions or strategy suggestions or complaints or whatever about my video, just let me know down in the comments. And until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.